It seems like I got nothing to do. Hit up Sim Standard Radio. I'm listening to one of the top podcasts, and they bringing you the real. And when they talk sports, it feels like you want to feel. From real talk to real sports, from Madden to 2K. Just listen for one day. They'll grab you when you say it's on the net, man. Turn off your stereo, not music. I mess with Sim Standard Radio.
All right, guys, what's up, man? Sim Standard Radio, back for another show, episode 60. We definitely want to give a thanks and a shout-out to Jive Turkey for providing the intro. But we got a great show lined up for you guys, man, and I'll let you guys know in advance. You know, it's close to the holiday, of course. You know, I'm over at my mother-in-law's house, got family here, so, you know, you definitely may hear some background noise. I can hear my son already crying downstairs. You know, I've disappeared. But let's go ahead and do it, man. We didn't want to cancel the show or anything like that. We definitely wanted to bring the show to you guys, so we'll go ahead and get it cracking. So before we move forward, let's go ahead and check on Smitty. And, of course, you guys know that, again, Azure Effect is currently in school. He may or may not be on the show at a later on in the show. But either way, you know, he's definitely here with us in spirit. But, Smitty, man, what you got going on over there?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just ready to do another show. Got some interesting stuff, some unfolding things that have happened today, but nevertheless, you know, looking forward to getting into everything here, and like always, you know, look forward to hearing from the callers as well.
Yeah, definitely the callers, man. I mean, you guys who are listening, please call. We'd love to get to a point to where the callers are dictating the show. You know, that'd be great because, again, it's a community show. You know, let's keep it honest. There's not but so much that we could talk about week after week, so it would be great to, you know, have some of you guys' topics and, you know, bring to you the things that you want to hear. But let's go ahead and get to the topics, man, because as much as I say that, you guys know it's the same thing every week. Smitty and I would dive into the topics, and we get to talking so much. Before you know it, there's not a lot of time left, you know, for the calls or what have you. But we have some pretty decent topics tonight, you know, some interesting topics. Like Smitty said, one of them was something that we found out on the fly. So we definitely want to discuss the whole Donny Moore situation. For you guys that don't know, Donny Moore, who was previously the ratings czar for Madden, is no longer in that position. He tweeted out that he will be retiring after 16 years to pursue other things. So first and foremost, we definitely wish him well on that. But we're going to discuss, you know, what does that mean for Madden in terms of rating? And more importantly, discuss what you guys would like to see going forward. You know, we've talked about this before, but with no better time than now, seeing that there's been a shift in that department. We'll talk about what we want to see going forward. Now, also, we want to talk about a recent video that I put up. You know, not trying to take the credit or anything like that, but this is something that we've discussed amongst each other as well as in the community. But we want to reflect on NCAA 14. The video that I did is I stated my top 5 bells and whistles that I would like to see in Madden that was in NCAA 14. So we'll discuss that a little bit. I'm sure Smitty probably has some things that were probably in NCAA even before NCAA 14 that, you know, we would like to see in Madden as well. So we'll talk about that. Also, man, another interesting topic, I think this one will be a pretty good discussion. We want to talk about sports games versus RPGs. You know, is it fair to compare a sports title to an RPG? Sports games compete, you know, graphically. You know, is it easier for RPGs to do things like graphics and environment and look so beautiful more so than a sports game? And, you know, the one we definitely got to talk about, and Smitty and Azure definitely played a part in me purchasing this game. But Batman Arkham Knight, I mean, phenomenal. You know, from the way it looks, you know, just everything about it. And then if you want to talk about graphics, then Smitty will agree with me with this one. You know, games like The Order. I mean, and let me say this real quick about Batman. Well, I'll save it for the discussion, but I don't want to forget this. Batman actually reminds me of The Order in terms of the cutscenes looking like gameplay. So it looks like The Order may have set a trend there. But yeah, we'll chop that up, man. We'll talk about RPGs versus sports games. Is it fair to even compare the two as far as performance? But then also another topic, and I think this one would be very interesting, and hopefully we have callers, that can chime in on this one. We're going to talk about football knowledge. And what we mean by that is, does the lack of understanding of concepts or, general football knowledge interfere with your thoughts when you're trying to break down a game like Madden? Recently there was a situation in the community where there's some guys that were, not an argument or anything like that. They were just discussing back and forth, where one guy was stating that there was a flaw in the game, and some other guys were stating, well, no, that's exactly what's supposed to happen in that type of coverage. So what we're going to cover, we want to talk about, does sometimes your lack of knowledge and this is not a shot at anybody, because let's be honest, a lot of us can learn a whole lot about the sport and concepts. Does that sometimes interfere your judgment when you're trying to critique or praise a game? So those are the topics, man. Like I said, we're going to try to get through them real quick. And hopefully you guys can take over the show. We'll open up the calls as soon as we're done with the topic, and that'll be that. So, Smitty, man, what do you want to tackle first, man? What do you think we should jump out at?
Well, we could jump on the Donny Moore situation, since there isn't really much detail out there in regards of it right now.
Yeah, man. How did you feel about that when you heard that news?
I think, at first I was thinking maybe he's stepping down from that role, but he's going to be working in a different capacity. You see what I'm saying? Like, in terms of with Madden. And I mean, I'm just talking about the initial tweet. I didn't really take it as if, he's like gone, like he's done.
Right.
But, later on find out that like, no, like he's done for real. Then it's like, oh, okay. Now what I think, I don't think all of a sudden, like, I know some people feel that the whole rating system may just all of a sudden make a dramatic change, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that it may, because if you recall, there were articles posted out here, especially on OS, a few years ago. Well, I would say like maybe 2 years ago, where they were talking about making structural changes, like in terms of different concepts when it comes to how players get rated and how they were testing different things. And Donny was part of it. So it's not like, because he's gone now, all of a sudden everything's going to shift. Not necessarily. So we could still have the same rating system that we're, used to always seeing. Because at the end of the day, community is concerned about who's rated, the best overall and all that good stuff. It's just that, the game, I would like to see the rating system evolve into something more simple yet dynamic, like we saw in APF. And I did a video on this a long time ago saying from Madden 15, have the player ratings compartmentalized. Like, why have an offensive lineman? Why give him kicking ratings and defensive player ratings? Like, for example, like being a cornerback and stuff like that. Why give him any kind of skill rating in that regard when that's not his position? And I understand why it's in there, because when you're programming the game, you can change players' positions in the game. So I understand why it's there. But I'm saying that as long as I have him in a particular position, he should only have certain skill ratings that matter to his position, unless I switch it. If I switch him to a D tackle, now he should have a move set based off power moves and finesse moves and block, shed, tackle, hit power, so on and so forth. But outside of that, I didn't agree with the way that the game was rated per se to a decent amount of the time, but nevertheless, I respect the work that he did. You know, I mean, I respect it out of the way, whether I agree, disagree. You know, some people straight hated the way he rated the game. We all have spoke about how the game should be rated. We feel the game plays a lot better when the ratings are all low. And the problem is that, a guy in his position, it's hard to, when you're doing it for a company, it's hard to say, well, you know what, I'm going to tune the ratings and have everybody low. And the top player overall is going to be like an 81 or 82 or something like that. Like, you can't do that. So somebody's got to be rated at the max. So you got, that's where you're always going to come into that kind of conflict with it. But like I said, the ratings, like I can respect the fact that he's took a lot of hits, a lot of criticism for what it is that he did, for the way he rated players, caught all kinds of heat from NFL players across the board. So I fully gotta respect that part, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, the big question mark is, at some point, are we going to see this rating system completely change, or is it going to completely evolve into something else? Because, I mean, I don't think it's like Donny stepped down because of conflict of interest, because, like I said, the articles were out there where he was saying that, they were testing out different concepts in terms of evaluating how ratings should impact players in the game. So it could just be, he's leaving now, but maybe in a year or so, that new system could be completely implemented into the game and change how the game feels in terms of how players are rated. So, that's something we'll have to stand by, wait and see. But I'll throw it to you, Sim. You give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I kind of feel the same way as far as, immediate change or even change for next year. That's left to be determined. We still don't know. I definitely agree with Smitty in the fact that, I know Donny, like, even remember that time it was like that article out there saying that they were putting, sensors on players and stuff like that, and it might be something they would look at using in the future. So like you said, that kind of stuff, Donny was there for that, but I don't necessarily think that it all, rides on his shoulders, so to speak. And y'all are probably hearing my little man cutting up, screaming and yelling. But, yeah, it's like, this is kind of where I want to take it. Talking about what I would like to see in the future. I mean, we've all talked about it here on the show. I've done videos about it. I may even just repost that video on Twitter just to, show guys again what I had in mind. But it's in line with what Smitty just said. It needs to be position-specific. Position-specific, as well as having more tendencies and abilities playing more of a role in terms of rating. And what I mean by that is, it sounds self-explanatory, but, sometimes you have to say it out longhand. Basically, in the game right now, they're concentrating on traits. Traits have been in the game for a few years now. And what we're hearing about Madden 16 is now to be more trait-based gameplay, even with penalties and things like that, which is a great start. So my idea would be use the traits that you have and add more traits. You know what I mean? Like, build off of that system, because once again, guys, like we always say, EA is not 2K. We always agree, I'm sure Smitty will agree with this, that we love the combination that 2K had with the abilities as well as underneath numerical rating. So I say Madden can do it the way they have it now, is traits basically could be their ability system. Because I don't think they're going to go back to what was done in Madden 08, which it was great, I might add. But I think they could still accomplish the same thing with traits. But now you need to add like hundreds of them. I know that could be exaggerated, but just imagine like for a corner, this dude could have a trait like high motor, very good in press. He tends to press. So what does that do? And hold on, guys, I'm actually going to step into another room because everyone downstairs seems to be talking at maximum volume. All right, a little bit quieter now. So imagine what that does automatically. And I'll use somebody like Ike Taylor, who's no longer in the league, but he was the type of guy that was always in your face and always pressed. It ain't matter if it was cover 2, man under, cover 1, or straight up man. It didn't matter. If he felt like he wanted to press, he would press. That could be another tendency, right? You could also have a tendency for a cornerback plays the inside. Well, he has the tendency to jump inside routes, looking for the slant, looking for curls. That could be a trait. So just, if you guys follow what I'm saying, you could have a trait pool of 20 per player for his position, right? So now you got the traits as well as you have the basic numerical rating, which would be things like speed. And, I don't know if there's too many, and Smitty, you could chime in. I don't know if there's too many other ratings, though, that need to be numerical. I know speed definitely would have to be, maybe even strength. Like the basics. But other than that, you wouldn't need, like Smitty said, wouldn't need kick power for my cornerback. Get rid of all of that. Scrap all of that stuff. And, of course, I'm not saying they can't do it, but let's just say he's put in a situation where he has to kick. It should look like what Richard Sherman would look like kicking a field goal. He could do it, but it ain't going to be too successful unless he's known for that. So therefore, you don't have to give him a rating for that. It's just, if you throw him in that position, then we're going to see what's going to happen. So I think, in my opinion, and I'll throw it back to you and see how you feel as far as the future, but I think it would be the great combination, once again, guys who are listening. You can't do it the way 2K did it. You're two different companies. But if they just could build on what they already have with the traits and add multiple traits and have them position specific, so where, like I said, again, like a corner, I'll give you a better one. Let's say an offensive lineman. Now, you might have a trait for a left tackle. He has a tendency where he likes to push you outside, or he likes to keep you right in front of him. You know what I mean? He has a, quick first step, or like a guard. You'll have a trait for, maybe a trait or a rating or what have you, however you want to do it, but he might have like footwork where he's a good puller. So this is a pulling guard. He's real good at that, or, his trait could be he looks for the pancake. I'm just throwing out ideas, but basically what I'm saying is you have a base set of numerical rating, speed, and then, the natural stuff, of course, that you would need, maybe accuracy and stuff like that. And then on top of that, you have it position specific, so players are only rated on their relative position. And then you have multiple traits per position that allows each player to start being different now. And that right there, combined with the gameplay that they're producing now as far as like physics and all that, that's our dynamic football game right there, folks. And that's how you get real replication, because now you give them the real trait that this guy shows on Sunday. So now the player is starting to play like himself. Of course, you would have to do some AI tweaks. But I think that would be the perfect world. And, before I throw it back to Smitty, one last thing I want to say about Donny. I never had a problem with the way Donny rated the game. And what I'm saying is, I may have disagreed with some of the numbers, but to be fair, Donny Moore was only rating the game based off the rating system. Madden's current rating system is all numerical. So it had to be subjective to some degree because he didn't really have a lot to work with, if you understand what I'm saying. So I never had a problem with him being the rating czar. That's a lot of work, man, that one guy. The only issue I had was I didn't always agree with certain numbers, but that's opinion-based again, so I can't hold that against him. And my biggest issue was just the rating system, which, in my opinion, that's not on Donny. Like I said, Donny can only do what he can do based on the system that's offered to him. So the real issue is now, will we get a new rating system? But what would you like to see, Smitty, going forward?
Well, basically what you had just said. I mean, I would like it to be along the lines of APF, but this is one thing though, Sim. Technically, 2K took from EA. It's not the other way around. Because you got to go back. EA first started implementing a badge-like type system in I want to say Live 04, where they had the freestyle. And if you remember, you had different badges like High Flyer and was it a Playmaker or whatever? You know, they use Steve Nash, guys like him to symbolize it. And you had defensive stoppers like Shaq and Ben, and like you had guys that would have badges for both sides of the court. Like one moment they, when they're on defense, they would have the lock to be a lockdown on-ball defender. And then on the opposite side, they were a three-point specialist. They would have the three ball, or if they were, like I said, a high flyer, they would have that, on their icon in the game. So this was done before 2K even thought of doing that. And 2K did it in a football game, and then they, of course, it's in NBA 2K15. But 2K15, but I think it was 2K13 they started doing badges, 13 or 14. But nevertheless, I would like to see, even if Madden had their rating criteria, you can have the numerical rating, but then still do badges in your own way. Just like what Sim said, like, for example, a guy that plays well to the inside, you can name it something different. You could name it like inside track. A guy that's good at front and the wide receiver, like you could call that front and center. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And you can he excels at jamming or whatever. So that's how you really start you really get that differential instead of just saying, okay, this guy has this number, so he's going to be able to do these kind of animations. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be a bit more to it than that. And that's why when you couple the skills with the abilities, yes, you can have the numbers on that's why I would love to see more of the ratings be underneath the surface, or like we were saying, compartmentalize it. So that way, it's like you only see these certain skills, and that's all you got. And then after that, you just got to play, you know what I mean? Like, you got to play out accordingly. And that kind of system I rather would see, because then you can have players get beat on any given play. You see what I mean? Instead of it saying, oh, because he's a 99, he's going to beast out. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, no, it's shit, or I'm not going to say it doesn't matter what you do, because now, even in 15, even in 25, if you make the proper defensive or offensive adjustments, you can still do your thing. So it's not like you just can't. You can. But what I'm saying, though, is that it creates more diversity out the box. Because in APF, Jerry Rice was by far the best receiver in the game, as he should be. But he still is going to drop passes. You can still neutralize him. It's just a matter of how you play your defense accordingly. But the thing is, you have to pay attention to the personnel you actually had. And that's the difference, according to the skills they possess. And use that to your strength, to your advantage. So I would rather it be a chess match based off of that than solely just saying, well, this is his numerical rating and that's it. And then you're talking about having certain animations that will go along with certain players, which was done back in Live 04. Certain guys were able to do certain things that other players just couldn't do because they may have had the high rating, but they still couldn't do those particular dunks or moves or whatever because they didn't have the badge. So that's what I'm saying. I would love to see that kind of effort brought into Madden. and make that kind of change. So that way, you know, you have guys that excel in certain areas. It's really there versus it being, well, he just gets his animation just because. But that's basically my additional take on that.
Yeah, man, I agree with that 100%. I think we pretty much covered it, man. That's how we feel. That's what we think it should be. For you guys who are listening, if you want to call in, you know, we'll get you in the second hour. Definitely, you know, give us your thoughts on that. If you don't have any other initial questions, and we want to hear your ideas. And what I think I'm going to do, Smitty, I just got an idea. You know, I think I'm going to chop up, cut out that part of the discussion and put that up as a video. And basically just, you know, title it Ratings Idea for Madden NFL in the future. Because I think, you know, what we said here tonight was great. And I want to, you know, be able to have something, you know, of course I'm going to put the show up, but I want to have maybe just that segment to be able to always reference, send it to the devs or whatever. Because I think the combination of basically what we said, man, that gives you the game, man. That gives you what you're looking for. There's your authenticity. There's your dynamic gameplay, as well as player likeness. So we'll make that push, and keep in mind, guys, we don't know, you know, how feasible it is, if it's something that can easily be done. But I think that's where we need to go with it. But, you know, while we're speaking on things that need to go in Madden, I guess we can go ahead and tackle the NCAA topic. And I guess I can get to it. I was about to say, I don't have the video right in front of me to remember my exact top five, but we want to talk about things that were in NCAA 14 that we feel like, you know, need to be implemented into Madden. You know, I had definitely my top five. You know, I hope you guys in the community can share with your thoughts, because we want to give this stuff to the community. I know Smitty agrees with a lot of the things that I said, but I'm anxious to hear what other things that, you know, I may not have said. But just trying to remember the top five. If I miss one, guys, forgive me. I'm sure someone will help me clean it up. I really think we need composure. That's one of my biggest ones. And the reason why I would say that, I'm going to tell you why it's one of my biggest. It's because Madden has advertised living worlds since Madden 25, right? Now, obviously, living worlds is not where we want it to be. It's not completely as what we thought. We know the vision that they have, you know, speaking with guys like Brian Murray, who is the guy from the NFL Network. We know what they want to do, but let's just face it, it's not there yet. But I think there's a component that you had in NCAA that can at least give you the environment part of living worlds. And what I mean by environment is home field advantage. Feeling like you're on the road. We all know how it is in NCAA. The lines are squiggly, you know. And I can't really remember if they do it in NCAA 14, but I know in the past, not only would the lines be squiggly, but you try to do an audible and your receivers moving around like, what? I can't hear you. All of that, right? Throw that into Madden. Now you got the somewhat of the effect of being on the road. You go to Seattle, you know, you go to Arrowhead, places like that, and you feel that, you know, now it feels like, dang, man, this is a tough game for me because I'm not on the road. And it affected the gameplay. These guys would drop the ball until they warmed up. Sometimes they would run a crazy route. See what I'm saying? Like, to me, that to me is a no-brainer. You know, let's just say if I worked at EA and I was the presentation guy, that might have been a no-brainer item for me. Like, okay, living worlds, okay, we can at least take this right now while we're building up to where we want to go. This will at least give you that effect. Along with that, what else did I say? The weather feed. You know, I want to have the live weather. That's probably lower on the priority scale, in my opinion, only because weather still doesn't actually affect gameplay to the degree where we want it to. And also now hearing Rex say himself, you know, the bells and whistles stuff like the dynamic weather and those type of things will come once they nail the core. So it would be cool if they could at least get the live weather feed, but, you know, I would really rather see it all done at once when the weather is affecting the game and everything. Because then imagine what the live weather feed does. Imagine CFM. You get updates and stuff like that, and it's like, hey, out in Detroit, they should have a great game. They're in the dome, even though it's 6 feet of snow outside. Let's throw it to Pittsburgh. Oh, the wind is going crazy out there. It's going to be a tough game for those guys. Then you add in your immersion and stuff like that, which leads me to the next point, the studio updates and stuff like that. We need that kind of stuff in CFM. Like, imagine that kind of immersion. That one I just thought of off the top of the head, but just imagine you get the studio updates and things like that with the ticker, like it is in NCAA, and then you got the weather effect. So maybe instead of it just being like a studio update, imagine when we get to the point where we're like, let's go out to Pittsburgh and see what's going on out there. And there's a reporter, whether he's visual or not, there's a reporter saying, man, it is crazy out here. It's like 10 degrees. The weather is wet. It's snowing. And, the quarterbacks are having a tough time doing warm-up. That's what I'm talking about. But the root of that point is, like I said, studio updates and having a game ticker, at least so we can see what's going on in CFM and keep the immersion factor going. What else did I say? I'm forgetting something else, Smitty. Oh, the game plan. The game plan adjustments. Where you can real quickly adjust how your receivers are playing, the DBs, whether you want them to be aggressive or conservative or balanced, all of that stuff. You can set your tempo, all of that stuff from that game plan adjustment in game needs to be in Madden. And last but not least, I said formation subs. Yes, you can do it right now from the pre-call screen, but that's not good enough. It needs to be like it was in NCAA. Madden had it at one time as well in the past. We want to be able to go in the start menu, whether it's at the beginning of the game or after the first series or whatever, even outside of that. Even if I can do it, outside of the game as far as like when I'm doing my week at CFL, there just needs to be a place where I can go in, set that roster, set the formations how I want it, especially on defense. If I know in this situation I want to put in my speed rushers and this, that, and the third, you should be able to do that. Like I said, Madden had it at one point. NCAA currently has it as far as the last game. But there's no reason why that can't be in Madden right now. So those are just the recap, guys, of the things that I had. So, definitely I want to throw it to Smitty, find out how he feels about that first of all, and then, maybe what else I may be missing that we may have had before from NCAA that never made it to Madden.
Really, all the things that you said were the things that I would say need to be in there, because there were aspects in the game that they did not have that are in Madden now. So they've been, I would say not at the greatest speed, but they've been slowly migrating some things over that were in NCAA into Madden. And, like the main things for me were, like you were saying, the squiggly lines, the stadium shaking, the player composure ratings. Like I would like to see, like you said, I would like to see the composure be dynamic. Like it's right there on the field. I can hold the directional stick and take a look and see who's, who's hot, who's cold, all that, or what have you, and have like a little meter, underneath like it was. I mean, yeah, it is pulling back from what you had of old and putting it in the new. But I mean, unless you have a system that's going to be new and better than that, I definitely would say bring it back. There's nothing wrong with bringing it back, because that's something that we all love. So we would love to have that element in the game, especially when you're talking about CFM. Because if you bring in a rookie, or if you have a guy that's, let's say we need the contractual situations in there. We need the holdouts and all that back in there. But let's say you have a guy that says, he'll reluctantly play, even though he doesn't like the fact his contract situation is not where it needs to be. His confidence could be low. You know what I mean? And his performance can be affected because of it. And, he could be a star player. And because his contract ain't right, like his on-field performance will suffer because of it. That's the kind of stuff that, especially when you're playing against other people, if you losing games and your star guys are just like halfway performing, or they're not making plays that they would make, typically because their confidence is going to be low by default like that. That's the kind of stuff right there that I would love to see, because that's like, okay, yeah, you got to manage your stuff, or you got to trade the player away or whatever. You know what I mean? So you're adding more dynamic elements that are going to impact the user in terms of what they got to think about, what kind of stuff they got to, adjust or whatever, and say, okay, you know what, we're going to have to do this, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to position this guy to get rid of him because we just don't have the money that he wants, and nobody wants to deal with him. Nobody wants to make a deal for him, so I'm just going to throw him out of free agency. So I'm going to have to position myself to draft, and I'm going to have to scout and draft accordingly to try and fill that void. I love that. You feel what I'm saying? So those elements, and like what Sim had said, those all need to be brought back into the fold, because those are really the only things that I can honestly think of personally. Like you named it all. So, yeah, that's all I got. If anything, one other thing, and it's not in NCAA, but it was in Madden 08. I would love to see the skill drills be brought back, for the sake of, because in Madden 08, you could perform those drills manually, and that can help with rehabbing your players as well as getting them stronger or getting them faster as well. Instead of it just being, well, because you got X amount of yards, you're this fast. But you're going to be able to upgrade it because you got so much XP. Like, it should be something where you can actually work your players out over time, and based upon how well you perform those drills, then at the end of the season, whether it's at the end of the season or in the off season, if you have off season workouts, something like that, they can gain, XP, or they'll just gain the overall skill point. So these are just things that are just throwing out there, but these are things that you can add into the game that will help, because remember, we talk about people, and I know people going to bring it up, the disc side aspect of it all, and they're only using like 18, I would say between 15 and 18 gigs. So they got a lot of disk space that they can use. And, those kind of elements could be things that help take up that space. So, but that's why I just wanted to add that, though. But basically, like I said, Sim, you had it covered pretty much, man.
I definitely want to see the skill trainer stuff also, man. Like, and just to clarify, I know most people should have understood what you were saying, but, just to rehash what Smitty said, we're talking about the things that you had to do manually, to build your player or rehab your player. And it would be great, man, if that stuff really mattered. You know what I mean? Like, I know right now, you could go through game prep and all that stuff, and there is like some of the end drill things, but I think there should be more things like, weights and stuff like that you have to do for injury, or just trying to get bigger and better, trying to get stronger. And it's really, you can have it set to where it's based on what you do with the stick. So if you can't perform well with this guy, hey, it's just like real life. Excuse me. So, you can make it that real. Or even, I would even like to see little situations where you can put your guys, you can either play it, or you can put them in situations and just let them perform, let their own AI perform. Like, let's imagine, being able to put your guys in Oklahoma drills or stuff like that, and just see how well your guy performs, like a D tackle or linebacker, what have you. And if he's beasting out in practice, he might get a boost. I even want a little stuff like that. So all of that stuff, like Smitty said, man, I agree with. We definitely need to see that stuff. And these things, some of these things were in the game before, so there's no reason why they can't return. But yeah, at least get that stuff from NCAA, man. And I think it definitely does a lot, to add some spice to the gameplay as far as visual and just, the way it would look. Speaking of visuals, man, RPGs versus sports titles, man. You hear people all the time, myself included. Sometimes I get ahead of myself and I'll be like, see, why can't Madden do this? See, why can't NBA 2K do that? Or whatever the game might be. And I wonder, Smitty, man, are we easy as we think? Because trying to think as a regular, just a pure gamer. Let's say I have no knowledge of how development works or anything like that. I'm just a guy. I go to the Walmart, buy a game. I don't even go to GameStop because I ain't even that type. I pick a game up from wherever I can get it from. And I put it in my console, and I'm looking at how it looks, how it moves, how large the game is as far as disk space, and, how much, how large it is as far as the game as well, whether it's open world or what have you. Is it fair for me to compare my sporting game experience to what I might get from a RPG? Think of games, guys, like, I'm going to take it back a little bit. Think of a game like Red Dead Redemption. You know how big that game was? You know what I mean? Games like GTA, which I don't really know if it technically falls into the RPG category, I guess maybe. But look at how big those games are, open world games like that. I haven't played this game, but I hear like The Witcher is like that, Witcher 3. And Batman, obviously, huge. It seems, I'm not that far into the game yet. I haven't had time. I plan on getting on it tonight sometime. But, is it fair, Smitty, for us to compare what they're able to do graphically with those games and just, how large the game can be as far as environment with a sports title?
I don't think so. Because, you can in principle because, like, it's a $60 game, so it's going to be held up to that standard, we're going to go from that standpoint. But outside of that, though, I don't think you can because they're not developing these games on the exact same timetable with the exact same amount of resources as well to build the game up. If you essentially look at it, Madden, like, okay, look at what these dudes have done with Madden. All right, now, yeah, I would say the order, but no, the order took a lot more time to develop. If you look at this dev team right now, this is their fourth game together, their fourth year putting this game out. Now, just think if they said, hey guys, if the last Madden they put out was Madden 13, and you didn't have Madden 25, you didn't have Madden 15, and then the next Madden you got was this one. Now, how many people would be upset across the board saying, yo, this is the same game and da-da-da-da? I highly doubt that number would be greatly diminished because you wouldn't have you would have all that time to focus on development, all that time to work on every aspect of the game. You could get the whole NFL scanned at least multiple times over. You could get all the rookies that as they came in, you could get them scanned and everything. And progressively, I'm just saying, like progressively as time goes by, you can work on a good amount of legacy problems. You can work on all kinds of new enhancements, gameplay elements, modes, everything. And then release a game. You see what I'm saying? Because when we look at these games like Batman, like Tomb Raider, like, Mirror's Edge they talked about, Dragon Age, that Star Wars, that Battlefront. These are games that it's not like that Star Wars Battlefront was not, they didn't announce it when they made that announcement for it last year at E3, it's not like they just started developing it last year. Like, no, those dudes were working on that game for a while. They've been spending some years, like, talking about from conceptualization to, you know, getting the resources and everything for it, and then actually putting the work together and building it up accordingly. You got to do all that stuff in a 8-month, in basically like an 8-month cycle with Madden, with all these sports games. That's what they got to do. You see what I'm saying? So when trying to put it on the exact same level, I truly can't, because there's so much more that you're able to go into that you could just there's so much more that goes into it for just one title, like a GTA or a Assassin's Creed or something like that. Now, look, okay, perfect example. I'll end it with this and throw it to you. Assassin's Creed Unity. A lot of people said, man, that game was just rushed. And look what happened. You had all kinds of graphical issues. You had gameplay issues that were going on, at least from what I heard, unless I'm speaking on it wrongly here. But you had some serious problems as to why people had rated the game low, didn't like it, didn't appreciate what was done by Ubisoft. And this is what I'm saying. A title of that caliber being rushed out, that's what happens when you have that happen. A game that you have to spend, that normally Assassin's Creed, originally, that game would come out every few years at first. But then they kept on, now the game comes out on a yearly basis. And that's why people, when it comes to the new ones, the new Assassin's Creed, people are going to be kind of holding back like, nah, because when they put out that Unity, that boy came out pretty shoddy. And I'm like, see, that's what happens when you take a game that you usually spend multiple years building up before release. All of a sudden, you're just dropping it out every year. And that's a problem. That's just like how people talk about Battlefield Hardline. Like, they're like, the game's all right, but see, the game was put out in a quicker pace, and that's what happens. People are going to get those kind of feelings about the game. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if and I was talking with you about this earlier, PGA Tour and UFC are on multi-year dev cycles. I mean, we know UFC is on a 2-year cycle. I don't know. They didn't specifically say how many years the cycles are going to be for PGA, but we know that it's not going to be every year. And I honestly feel that that's what needs to happen with all the titles. Like, of course, the NFL and the NBA make the final decision, but I would love to see them open it up and say, okay, you know what? You guys can spend 2 years and just do updates. You know what I'm saying? Like, do content updates. Do what Live did. We updated these animations. We updated this. We updated that. Or matter of fact, better example, UFC. I mean, after all the updating they've done for that game, it feels like a completely different game for what came out in last June. Completely different. I mean, the gameplay feels better. The overall feel of the game is better. You have more animations. They gave you all these additional fighters. They added additional game mechanics and enhanced them along the way for a good while. I mean, you had I would say, 4 to nearly 6 months of quality, of good content that was given out, as well as tuning and tweaking and patching that was done along the way. You can't do all of that stuff with Madden. You can't do that with 2K either. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would love to see it opened up where these guys can actually do that and spend that quality time building the game up and addressing gameplay issues as well, and then spending some quality time with implementing these elements that we've been demanding for, and you can also get a heck of a lot more polish on the games as well when you do that. When you spend that time between cycles. That's why I can't wait. I mean, I know it comes out in about 2 weeks, but I can't wait for that McElroy, that PGA. I can't wait because I want to see how that game feels and how it runs. Seeing that those guys took the time off, went to hiatus, built that game up, started from scratch, built it up off that frostbite, and see what happens. See how that game actually plays and runs. Like I definitely can't wait for it. But I'll throw it to you, Phil.
Yeah, man, I think too, another thing that people have to consider, with the sports title, like for one, is built to do different things. Like for example, and even the Madden people, kind of brought this to light and helped us understand it a little better. We always talk about full on out physics in Madden. Now, the reason why it's hard is because you're talking about 22 players interacting on every play. And I know the first thing people are going to say, yeah, what about backbreaker? Okay, but what about backbreaker? Y'all remember how, the shortcomings that the game had. Let's not forget that. It could be a result of that. And think about it. Thing that a lot of people probably never thought about, if backbreaker was built on their physics engine and it still had those problems, that's letting you know right there how difficult it is to have 22 people collide and interact on every play. And that's not an excuse for them or anything. It's just the reality. So to get back to the point, I think with the RPGs, I mean, for the most case, like a Tomb Raider, it's just you. You're moving around. You can interact with other things. And again, guys, excuse the little man crying downstairs. You can interact with more objects and all that, but think about it. They can fabricate what's happening around you. You know what I mean? Like, even a game like GTA, think about when you roll up on somebody or a group of guys and they're talking. They can fabricate that to make you think that's something that's really happening. But you can kind of script those things. You know what I mean? So it's like in a sports title, the eye for a sports player, we are expecting to see real interaction. Whether even if it's a baseball game, I want to see, the catcher and the umpire is looking at the ball as it's hit. You know what I mean? Like they're not in the play, but I want to see them interacting with the field, the ball, the whatever, the bat, whatever it is, the football, the baseball, basketball. And I think because sports is all about interaction between different bodies, I think that's why you can't always compare them as far as what can be done. Because like Smitty said, they're built on totally different templates. Now, what I can say though, graphically, that's where I have a little more of an issue because I feel like, now don't get me wrong, some of these sports titles look good, and I'm not talking about just player model, but I'm talking about the entire environment. Like, for example, take a game like Madden. That's probably the easiest one to depict. Why doesn't the crowd, and I know it's a lot of them, but why doesn't the crowd models look as good as the player model? Now, I know some people would say, man, that's a lot of work, and true. But to me, that's where you could really look at an RPG type of game and be like, man, every piece of the environment is beautiful. You know what I mean? Like the building, the mountains or whatever. Remember the countryside that you could see when you was playing Red Dead. Everything looked good. Even like the animals that would run across the path. So that's when I kind of be like, well, we're getting back into the living worlds thing. Why isn't, sports titles on that kind of level alone? Not necessarily performance, but, and that's probably the only thing that I could kind of compare because, to me, that's a basic thing. Environment is environment, but I don't know, man. Speaking of the yearly thing, I'll say this real quick, and then we'll bounce to the next topic as we're getting closer to the next hour. I don't think we'll ever see a yearly seasonal sports title allowed to be, every year, every other year, every 2 year, what have you. I don't think that's going to happen only because of the demand of the consumer as well as the demand of the viewer, the viewing public. Think about football. We all wait for the next season. I don't think the NFL will ever allow the video game that coexists with their season to not come out. Maybe when the gameplay is stellar, just phenomenal, maybe at that point they can convince them, give us more time to develop. But we got to, remember that it's not the game publisher. It's basically those that they're in partnership, with who are demanding, you're going to put out an NFL game every year. Oh, no, that NBA title is coming out every year. Now, as far as NBA Live, I don't know how they were able to do what they did for a few years. Maybe it's because there is another NBA product, and the NBA was like, okay, well, at least 2K is still coming out. But with Madden being the only one, I don't see it. I don't see the NFL ever allowing them to be like a multi-cycle situation. Multi-year situation as far as producing one game. But we'll see. And one other thing, Smitty, as far as the environment, you said it, man. I can't wait to see this McElroy because are you guys paying attention to how that game looks? And it's,
right.
If you all remember, if you listen to what they said at E3, and we know that game is running on Frostbite. And one thing that I kind of noticed one of those guys said up on the stage, I don't know if it was Andrew Wilson or somebody else, but I don't know if everybody caught this. See, me and Smitty and Azur, and a couple of you guys out there in the community, we're real good with reading between the lines. I heard the dude say, this is our first sports game to run on this engine. Now, what does that mean to me? That sounds like there could be plans for the rest of the sports titles. I'm going to hope on that, and I'm going to push for that. Because to me, why would you even say this is our first sports game? You could very easily just say, PGA Tour runs on Frostbite. That's it. You know what I mean? You don't have to put any specifics on there. But for him to say this is our first title to run on Frostbite sounds like Frostbite might be the preferred engine. So we're going to see. But I can't wait to see how that game looks and performs. And I'm not even a huge golfer or golfing gamer. But I still, just because of those facts alone, I just want to see how it looks and performs. But, man, this should be a fun topic, Smitty. Let's talk a little bit about football knowledge. And I really hope that some of the guys that were a part of the discussion call in tonight. But first of all, and I'm going to let Smitty take the lead because he knows a little more about the situation than I do. But I'm going to set up the situation by saying this. I feel like sometimes, and I felt like this for a while, Smitty has as well, I feel like sometimes when people critique video games, they might not necessarily know what should have happened in the situation. You see it happen a lot, particularly with Madden. Madden is the only football game. People like to compare it to old games, which is fine. But if you think about a large group of people that bash Madden or bash any sports title, listen to their arguments. How many times are they giving you principles and fundamentals of that sport? Usually the conversation goes like, this game sucks because this should have happened. What do you mean? Well, this guy should have did this. Well, why? He just should have, because he should be smart enough to do that. Now, I'll be the first one to say, I don't challenge anybody's opinion. I played football. I watch football. I've been watching it since I was a kid. Same thing with boxing. A lot of y'all don't know that. But a lot of people always be like, yo, Sam be know what he talking about boxing. I'm a boxing fan, bro. I have people in my family that box. My mother-in-law's husband is an ex-professional boxing trainer. You know, he trained a lot of those dudes in the D.C. area, like, you know, DeMarcus Corley and, you know, William Jopp, guys like that. He's trained real people. He trained some guys up here in Pennsylvania as well. So I say all that to say this. Like, sometimes, even though I know these sports, I can still be taught things. I don't know everything there is to know, I'm sure, about football. I know what it was like when I played. I know what I watched. Like, for example, I was telling Smitty this earlier. Pittsburgh Steelers. They had one of the most unorthodox defenses in the world, along with the Jets, when Rex Ryan was doing his thing. And when he was the coordinator for the Ravens. Because Pittsburgh's cover two don't look like San Francisco's cover two. You understand what I'm saying? Dick LeBeau used to have concepts within a concept. And the way that I knew him was by watching my team. Like, I'll give a shout out to one of the other devs you guys don't know about. You know, his name, we call him A-Dub. Me and him always have great conversations because he does a lot of the playbook stuff and all of that. And we always be talking about how crazy Pittsburgh's defense is, but we can recognize it because we know what to look for. Somebody else might not know. They might be like, what's he doing? You ain't supposed to do that in a cover one. But it was designed that way. So basically, just to get to the point and throw it to Smitty, what I'm saying is, there's a lot of stuff that I can still learn about football that I may not know. So I'm not going to always act like, the guy should have did this and that's this, that's that. You don't always know that. Guys like NY Kid do a phenomenal job with breaking down football formations and what should happen. Those are some of my favorite videos to watch, man. When NY Kid used to do, they're breaking down the cover two, breaking down the 3-3-5 stack. You know, doing the run and shoot. Those videos are some of my favorite videos of all on YouTube because he knows what he's talking about and he's actually teaching you as well as he's showing you in the games that he played how well the game does or doesn't follow the concept. Great stuff. So anyway, the point that we're making here, and Smitty, I'm going to let him take the lead. There was a discussion. Someone made a video, and he was saying that the DB didn't do what he was supposed to in this particular defense. And some other guys commented saying no. And one of them being my man, NY Kid, saying, no. That is what's supposed to happen in that defense. So long story short, it spawned a conversation within the community about, do people always know what they're talking about? Now, I don't mean to say it like that. I'm not being rude. I'm just saying it can happen to anybody. So do people always know what they're talking about when they're calling something a flaw? Is it a football problem or a video game problem? That's something Smitty says all the time. So go ahead and enlighten us, Smitty. Tell us what actually happened in that situation there.
All right. Basically, there was a play that was shown, and this is based, mind you, this is based off of the E3 footage, but regardless of that, the way the play was set up, it was quarters. It was a quarters defense. And the point that was being made was in regards of how the safety was supposed to play. Okay, and because he didn't dynamically adapt to what was going on, that was the problem. And he's saying that the players should dynamically adapt. Now, when I was reading through all of that, what that sounds like to me is that sounds like basketball logic being used for a football game. You can't, especially if you're playing a defense like a quarters defense, any defensive scheme, there are assigned duties that you have to perform. You know, there are certain things you can and cannot do, or what have you. The only kind of defense where any kind of improv would be justifiable to an extent, would be man-on-man defense. That's it. Because it's just you and the wideout. And you're trying to stop them by whatever means. There is no, well, if I get beat here, this guy's going to cover me or that guy's going to cover me or this. Like, no. There's no system to it. When you're playing it, now when you're talking about a zone coverage scheme, you can't just say, well, because this receiver is doing, this receiver is doing damage and they keep throwing it deep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break off coverage and I'm going to move over there instead. You'll be on the sideline before you know it, and you'll be done for the day. You can't just jump. You got to do, especially in football, you have to do what the concept tells you to do first and foremost. And one thing I was telling the Sim was an example where I had seen a game a few years ago. This was before Ed Reed had retired, and he was matter of fact, he was still in Baltimore. And what he did was he had sold his zone as if he was playing it soft. Receiver was running, and it was like there were two receivers that were in his vicinity. One he was closer to, the other one he was further away from. What he did was he basically sold the illusion that he was only going to be able to cover one. But then as soon as the QB threw the ball, he knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, he saw the QB's eyes and he knew what the QB's intention was. He just sold the fake. QB bit on it and he straight darted over to the ball and picked it off. And now, if we were to do this from a video game sense, and this is what we talked about prior to the show, take from what NCAA did, because remember, this is a video game. Okay, we're not talking real life and all that. This is a video game. Why not take from what NCAA does with the conservative and aggressive zone play, which is basically the audible, the coverage adjustments you have in Madden now, inside, underneath, over top, all those adjustments. That's to an extent, that's what it is. But I'm saying take it the extra step and have it where you can have a safety that'll play his own conservative. And then all of a sudden just get aggressive because he sees it, get aggressive, and boom, he'll, like in the game, the AI will just say, okay, switch to aggressive because he sees the play or, according to the head tracking, he's looking at it, he sees it, boom, he's going to go aggressive and react to it and react to the play. Maybe he'll get it, maybe he won't get it, maybe he'll just get a hand on it and slap it down. But the point I'm getting at here is that the whole discussion, I went a little bit off topic there, but the whole discussion was basically like what Sim said. It was basically Madden sucks. Well, not Madden sucks, excuse me. I don't agree, like NYKia and the other dude, DSK. I don't remember the rest of his name, but these guys made all their points off of football. This is the concept. This is what you can do in this situation. They didn't just give their opinion and call it a day. They didn't just go with, well, you're defending EA, blah, blah, blah. Like that wasn't what was said. It was like, well, no, the play was done right, and here's why. This is the concept of quarters. This is what you're able to do with quarters. You can't just switch and do that on a whim. You have to play according to the scheme. You have to live and die by the scheme. That happens every single Sunday. But the thing I loved the most was, regardless of what was being said to them, and it's not like dude is being all kinds of ignorant or whatever, but the line of dialogue was, well, I believe that the defender should have done this. Okay, why? There was never a football explanation rebuttal in regards to opposing what was said by NYKia and the other gentleman. Why not oppose it with football knowledge and football logic? You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me fundamentally why in a quarters defensive formation, why the DB should have just broke off and did what he wanted to do. And then explain it and make sense out of it. Based off of football that you see happen, show it. And that didn't happen. And see, this is what I'm saying. And I'm not saying this to be funny. I don't care how much you play Madden. Ain't nobody too big to go to a tutorial and learn something. You know what I'm saying? Go into that skills trainer and learn if you need to. Understand these football concepts. These are football concepts that are being shown in that trainer. It's got nothing to do with trying to say you don't know nothing. Because ain't nobody out here ain't nobody out here in the NFL right now. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people say things like Madden doesn't have any football in it, and Madden doesn't do anything in terms of football, but prove it. Based off of football, based off of defense, actual defensive formations, cover 3, cover 2, 4 3s, 4 6s, 3-5-5 stacks, you know what I'm saying, 1-5-5 prowls and all that stuff. Why don't you show us? Show us according to how these sets are ran, what doesn't make sense. So that way we can have football discussions and football dialogue with each other instead of just saying, man, they just suck. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't do anything. And that's what I said when I spoke with VF on one of his discussion panels a month or two ago. I said, as a community, we need to evolve in that regard because we're supposedly the ones with all this knowledge and everything. We know so much supposedly about football, and we know every in and out, X and O, and every single set and everything that's ever been done. But we make casual arguments. Madden sucks. It just doesn't happen. It needs to. How come it doesn't happen according to that defensive set? Well, because I just think he should be able to make the play, or he should just have the AI and do it. No, well, 2K does it. No. Like, no, football-wise. And that's what needs to happen. And that's what I said a long time. I've said it since Madden 25. The more authentic the game keeps getting, people are going to they're going to tell on themselves and start ratting themselves out in terms of how much they truly know in regards to football. You know, and that's fine. And you know what? Take the L and learn. That's all that matters. It ain't got nothing to do with saying, oh, you don't know nothing, you ain't got no credibility. Man, I don't give two flying farts about that. All I'm saying is learn from your miscue and present your intellect, your football intellect in these videos instead of just acting like the game don't work, nothing never works. Because and this is the thing that cracks me up the most is when I see people say statements like, we're not looking for perfect football, we're not looking for the perfect game, but yet, what's the tone of all these videos? Perfection. Man, look at how sloppy that play looked. Oh, man, look at how this guy did this. Oh, okay. Like you're critiquing, you're picking at every single little thing like it's all supposed to play perfectly every single time. And when it doesn't, boom, because when you upload when these videos, these flaws get uploaded, you want to know how many examples are being pointed out? 1 or 2. You're not seeing people showcase whole games so that you can see how many times or how often it all happens. No, you're seeing one example get broke down for a few minutes, and then that's supposed to generalize what happens all game long. See, and this is what I'm saying. If you're just saying that the whole game is sloppy and nothing ever works, well, then you're asking for perfection. You're asking for perfect things to happen, and that's never going to be the case. I could tell you right now, and I'll say this, and I'll end it here, so I'm going on, but I can tell you right now, NBA 2K16 is going to have problems that have been in the game for years. So is FIFA, so is PES, so is NHL, so is Live, and so is Madden. So what you going to do? You going to tear the game down brick by brick because of it? Or are you going to play the game and just like, well, it doesn't happen as much here, but it does happen over there? Or are you going to be selectively objective? This game, it's broke. Trash truck juice. Nothing works. But then when it's another brand, all of a sudden, well, you know what? Yeah, it happens, but, it doesn't take away from the game, though. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So it takes away when it happens in this game, but it doesn't take away when it happens in that game. And it's the exact same problem. Okay. So, I know I touched on a few different things here, but overall, as a community, we need to be talking football and not just throwing out personal opinions about how you feel AI should play out or how a defender should react on the play. If you're going to say that, please back it up with football. Because at the end of the day, that's what this community is supposed to be all about. Football in its purest form. So why not use the purest form to make your point? And that's all I'm getting at with that. So now I'll pass it on to Sim.
That's it, man. Keep it football. I mean, like I said, I'm getting back to the roots of what I always did, of showing great football and then showing times where football didn't happen. And that's it. And it's no big deal. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. And like I said, my intention is not to pick at somebody. Like I said, I'm sure there's stuff that I don't know. Like people have corrected me in a video. I was like, what is this? It looks like cover 3 or is it cover 6? And they be like, no, that's such and such. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. And that's it. But what all I'm saying is, again, if we are going to be that community to continue to make a difference, let's make sure that we are breaking down football or lack thereof. So there's not a situation where you're presenting a problem that's not a real problem because what was supposed to happen was supposed to happen. That's a lot of stuff that Clint talked about when we were with him. He'd say, yeah, you're right, but this is what you're not taking into consideration. And he'll run through certain things. I'd be like, see what I mean? So that's all we're saying. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and open up these call lines, man. I know some of you guys are listening online. That snafu that we had last week, I guess this is just going to be the real number. So let me give you guys the phone number if you want to call in. It is now 516-453-9126. Again, 516-453-9126. Press 1. We'll get you in. First and foremost, we're going to bring on 757. We missed him last week, so we definitely want to hear what's been going on with him since last week. And it looks like right now, in this exact order, we have 813, 407, and 337. All right, so let's go ahead and get 757 on the line. 757, man, what's going on with you this week? What you got for it?
Man, you giving us, hey fellas, y'all giving us a mouthful. Giving us a mouthful. Wow, where do I start? I'm gonna start what you guys just talked about. For years, guys have simply played Madden and not played football and got away with it. They got away with it, and I'm gonna start offensively with playing like a butcher and not a surgeon. Right? You often heard Trip Delfer talk about that. That are you going to be a surgeon or are you going to be a butcher? Now, Madden 16 is coming down the pipe. And I've looked at the videos, and I've always looked at it in a different aspect. Are we getting replication of football? Now, there are so many elements that take place in a coverage or a concept on offense, and there's a reason for it. You run plays to set up certain plays to manipulate an offense or a defense, right? A lot of these defenses, I'm going to be all over the place a little bit. A lot of these defenses that are in Madden, a lot of guys don't even have the personnel to run. Most guys don't even have enough personnel to run a 3-3, the prowl. They don't even hardly run it in real NFL. The coach down there that was at the Jets that now is in Buffalo, I can't think his name right now. He ran it, but his DBs allowed him to run it, right? in the way that his scheme was his defensive line and linebackers. Everybody can't run that. Everybody couldn't run Tampa 2 as Chicago did the year that they went to the Super Bowl, right? They had the right kind of corners. They had a 6'4" middle linebacker that ran a 4-4 and got enough depth, so they didn't put a lot of pressure on their safeties. And the way that their defensive line was set up, and we're going to go to the Tampa Bay, when they was doing well and they was winning Super Bowls, the way that Tampa 2 was set up, you got to have a monster defensive tackle. You got to have two speed rushers on the outside, or two guys who can really get to the quarterback. And you got to have fast linebackers that get to the middle of the field, especially with your middle linebacker, because sometimes he's 25 to 30 yards off the ball. And in that Super Bowl, when they played the Indianapolis Colts, in the rain, what did Peyton Manning do the whole game? He threw checkdowns. Nothing else was there. He won that Super Bowl damn near off of throwing checkdowns out to the running back out the backfield and letting him run up the field. Now, you're playing guys now who are playing in Madden to bring it forward, who are running 3 plays on offense, 3 plays on defense, and they think they're balling because the system was broken back then. It wasn't because you was playing a great route. You was running this seam route that you know that the outside linebacker couldn't recognize it and couldn't get over and take 2 steps over and either bat the ball down and pick it off. Now, a lot of y'all got a rude awakening coming, and you're not going to like it. See, the Sim Standard ain't told y'all everything that's about to take place and how this 16 is about to punch you in the gut. Because when you looked at that tape of Madden 16 against the Giants, and people really got to look at that 2 game plays. I suggest they go back and really look at those games. That first game of the 23 minutes of the Giants versus the Titans, and that other game of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers. A couple of plays, the dude brought the safety down, the linebacker almost to the line of scrimmage to go to blitz them. I think they was in 3 wide. The slot receiver ran a skinny post and he threw it right over the safety's head, and there was nothing nobody could do about it. The safety was late. See, we're gonna start manipulating the defense now. Our ball placement, right? Everybody's complaining about, is the jump ball overpowered the aggressive catch? I'm going to tell you now, 99.9% of the time, I'm never going to go after the ball. I'm going to play the receiver. And my goal is to bat it away or bat it up in the air and let my safety pick it off. And say, keep throwing that damn fly route. Keep throwing. See, we are about to start playing the concept of football, and Madden 16 about to drop a lot of guys off. This is my concern, though, fellas. Are they going to allow the system to play itself out? I'm nervous about that. Because guys have been being rewarded for bad play on Madden for years. Now, we've been wanting simulation football. So you guys say that's what you want. Now we're about to really find out if you want it. Because now your defensive tackle ain't helping you, or your defensive end ain't helping you getting off the block. If he don't have great block shed, I'm running right past him. You're not going to be able to suction tackle me now from 4 yards away and high-five your homeboy and thinking you made a great play. I'm running right past that linebacker because when you go to spam that X button, he's going to jump now. Can you handle that? Do you understand the angles that you need to take now and that you got to hold that right trigger button and close down on a little bit? And now you got to be willing to give up the 3-yard run? Because if you don't give me the 3-yard run, you're gonna try to close on me at 2 yards, and I'm gonna get you for about 25. Can you handle that? Mm. Can you handle now going to the Jets or going up to Pittsburgh and having to deal with that 3-4 defense, and you don't know what fucking linebackers blitzing, and being able to read that defense, been patient enough to dink and dunk because he's not going to give you nothing over the top all the way down the field? Are you going to be able to deal in Detroit with Megatron and you still trying to man him up and wonder why he dunking on him. But these what the fellas gonna do. And I don't even want to talk about what the heck they got in Tennessee. That team is gonna be stupid. So what you got? So what you guys really want? Are you gonna be able to handle it? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say to guys at the Sim Standard, please don't let them change it. Please don't let them start listening to the crybabies or the boo birds about this is too hard. Or this is not football. I don't even know what that play was, but I know 9 times out of 10, when you're running certain concepts, especially with 3 and 4 and 5 wide, you got to manipulate the middle of the field and get that safety out of there. You got to make him declare left or right. You can't let him sit in the middle. You're going somewhere to cover somebody. And then at that point, what other route am I running that's going to free up what I'm doing? Whether the linebacker's blitzing, not blitzing, am I throwing over the middle? I got one-on-one with that sorry backside corner that you got, and then I'm going to run that comeback on him until his brain is busted. Or I'm going to roll that coverage over to Megatron on defense and say, hey, Smith, I can't give you that, homie. You got to go. You got to go to Golden Tate. I can't let Megatron kill me all day. So are you going to be willing to understand and learn these concepts and skill trainers, and also with some of the other guys who are going to deliver the message of, like NY Kia, how do you run the defenses? How do you run the coverages? How do you manipulate plays in order to get what guys open and to get stops and turnovers on defense? Because a new dawn and a new day is coming. Momentum is about to start mattering. You're going to have to start thinking on defense. Do I play the ball? Do I play the man? How tall is he? How much does he weigh? And connect the franchise. I can't just draft 6 DBs anymore. I need a tackle. I got to go get one. I need a middle linebacker. The one I got sucks. I got to go get one. Because most guys don't know shit about football. I would continue to say that. They think they know the manipulation of the system of Madden. And now these guys are attempting to fix it. And now it's a new dawn, it's a new day. Are you going to be able to handle it? Because now, my question is, now on this wild, wild west, on online, I can't wait to go in there and start smacking you around. Not because I may not be the best Madden player and I can play. But when you go to drop that defensive tackle out of there, because you're trying to cover something, I'm gonna audible to a sweep or a backside counter and run right where your ass just came from. You're gonna blitz that middle linebacker. You're gonna go man. I'm gonna send that tight end exactly where you came from. So now I say to you, let's play football, not Madden. Guys, I thank you for your time.
Man, well, you already know how we feel, man. It's usually there's nothing left to say after your segment. I mean, you're dead on. There's nothing left to say. I'm sure Smitty feels the same. Yeah, man, as we push towards it, we're going to see what people are all about. But let me grab 8-1 real quick, man. He actually sent me a tweet letting me know that, he just has a question, early in the morning. So let me just bring him in real quick, and then we'll grab the next caller. So 813, man, got you in here, man. Sorry for the wait. What you got for it?
No worries. What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man.
Chilling. First, I'd like to say I thoroughly enjoyed playing in the Zords League last year. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up 757. He's always pretty incredible. But I just wanted to touch a couple things really quick and hang up and listen tomorrow on the podcast. But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in 16 is the fact that my favorite team that I play with is the Bucks. And when you have those two twin towers on the outside with Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson, nothing was more frustrating at 15 than feeling like I didn't have control. You have one-on-one coverage on the outside, and I'm throwing a ball to Vincent Jackson or Mike Evans, and literally they're just leaving me out, hanging out to dry. And I got a DB that's 5'11", and I got a 6'5" Mike Evans. And, nothing was more frustrating, so I'm really looking forward to using those two.
But real quick, my question to you, Sim, was I've been listening since 25 came out. Madden 25 came out. I found you guys on Google, YouTube videos, and I've been listening to the show religiously since. And I remember hearing you guys talking about them implementing, possibly because it's the same company, the dynamic weather system from Battlefield. Now, I saw the interview you did with Rex and him mentioning that, but one of the other things he mentioned last year, E3, was looking forward to having, basically, like you guys have said before, a turnkey game and then adding in the polish, adding in those, you know, the cherry on top, in other words. And one of the things he mentioned was, you know, having Adrian Peterson look like Adrian Peterson when he's running, having Calvin Johnson look like Calvin Johnson when he's running and cutting, or quarterbacks with their dropbacks and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, because you mentioned that again this year, how close are we to that? Is that something that we can look forward to? Probably not in this game, you can tell. You know, I'm very happy about looking at the YouTube videos and what direction it's going in, but it's probably not in this game. But how close are we to that dynamic weather and players looking like players? You know, Doug Martin running like Doug Martin, etc. I'll hang up, and I appreciate everything you guys do for the community, and I listen to your show religiously, and I'll listen tomorrow. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. We definitely appreciate you calling in. You know, I'll answer that real quick, and then we'll go to the next call. Let Smitty answer that, because I could pretty much probably speak to Smitty here as well. And, guys, that's headlines or bust on Twitter. You know, you may have heard us mention him before. Like you said, he played in the league. Great guy, man, but we definitely appreciate you calling. Now, as far as what Rex said, and I'm glad to see that you've been paying attention. Smitty can back me up here. Can pull my chain a little bit to make sure I don't go too far. What I can say is I think you'll start seeing traits of behaviors in Madden 16. You know, it's safe to say that, because even Rex and all the guys have said that it's trait-based gameplay. As far as the full likeness, I can say that we're close to it. I can't say when, for obvious reasons, but Smitty probably can agree here. It's coming. It's coming, and it's definitely coming very soon, because Rex has said it himself in the recent interview I did this year at E3. You heard him say that they feel like they're going to be exactly where they want to be with the core with this one and next year. And then, you notice he said, then we can go after those bells and whistles like dynamic weather. So if you're listening to what he's saying there, as far as weather, this is just a guess. It sounds like, to me, if he said this year, next year, focusing on core, then going after dynamic weather, it sounds like it might not be until at least maybe 18. Now, like I said, I can't confirm anything as of yet, but I can pretty much confirm what he said. That stuff is on the table. This is stuff we talk about all the time when we're down there. So I will say that we're very close to player likeness and dynamic weather and all of those things a lot sooner, you know, than everyone would think. You know, some people probably would say, oh, that's 5 years out. No. They've already let you know it's on their radar, and they're coming for it. You even heard Clint say in the interview, the last thing he said in the interview when I asked him, you know, what is one of the things that was a miss that you couldn't get in 16 that you really want to go after? And he even said one of the biggest things for him is equipment and authenticity. So couple those two things together, I really feel like they're definitely going to go after that likeness, you know, sooner than later. But it's all about getting the core football right, because I think we all can agree. If it looks like a certain person and all of that, but then it's still the gameplay on the field ain't right, we'll complain about that. So I would rather see them take the approach that they'll take it, get the core, the fundamentals, and the game playing right, then go ahead and add all those, you know, the bells and the whistles and the likeness and all of that. Because it does go hand in hand, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So, all right, let's go ahead and grab the next call. We're at the 23-minute mark, which is kind of weird, guys, because the time is saying it's 9:35. Yeah, guys, it seems like it's off by a few minutes. I'm not sure why, but anyway, we should still have time to get the rest of the callers in. Right now, we have then 337, and then 262. So 407, we got you on live. What's going on tonight?
What's going on, gentlemen?
There he is.
That guy.
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Yep. Close on the ruckus as usual. Yeah, I was the one who was having the conversation on YouTube and trying to correct some wayward thinking in this wonderful community of ours. And, here's the thing. We all know the game is going to have flaws. That's a given. I see flaws in the, footage that we've seen. You've seen them. We all see flaws in the game. Yeah. What we have to start distinguishing, or do a better job of distinguishing as a whole, is determining what's a video game flaw and what's a football flaw. And then when we distinguish between the two, having enough of a knowledge of the game and of the sport to be able to speak intelligently as to why this isn't correct as far as football and what can be done better. But what you have here, and you guys are dead on. Smitty and Azur and 757 have been talking about this and predicting this for a while now. People are starting to reveal themselves. We're starting to see who's about pushing their YouTube channel and catering to their audience, and who's about dropping knowledge about the sport. The days of being able to run quarters coverage to the outside against a guy like Odell Beckham are done, unless you have a 6'3" corner with great ball skills, and it's only about 2 or 3 of them in the entire league. If you want to stop Richard Sherman, you better get out of that quarters. Richard Sherman's one of them. But if you want to stop Odell Beckham, you better be playing bracket coverage. You better be playing quarter halves. You better be playing a cloud coverage. You better be rolling safeties, because if you don't have that guy who can shut that down, you're not stopping him. And it doesn't matter if it's a guy with great speed or if it's a guy who can compete for the ball. You're going to have to roll that coverage. And what this community has to get past, it's got to get past a couple of things. One is perfect football syndrome. And 2, they got to stop living in 2005.
Yeah.
Because as long as those 2 habits keep on repeating themselves, the same hamster wheel is going to keep on turning. Every coverage has a set of keys, a set of rules, a set of principles that are followed. The rules and principles of cover 4 are different than cover 3, or different than cover 2, cover 6, cloud, sky, buzz, man 1, man 2. And at no level of football are those principles ever bastardized. You can't, against a trips formation with a guy flanked wide running a streak, have your safety over the top of him while a tight end or a slot receiver is running a post. If he does, you're going to have a gaping hole to your defense. You're going to have to make the right call, or you're going to have a guy on that island that can account for that deep threat outside. You can't have it both ways. You can't play seam over the top in quarters coverage. It's impossible. It can't be done. You have to play a combo coverage. You have to double team out a man. You got to do something else, but you can't play quarters. So as far as what I've seen from the game in that regard, I'm very happy about it. And one thing I want to point out as well, and this has not been talked about, there was a video on YouTube showing the Patriots and the Giants, and you saw the Patriots, take it to the Giants. They weren't getting those downfield passes because the Giants' O-line couldn't block the Patriots up front. The Giants user kept on holding the ball, waiting for those deep routes to Odell to open up, and he was getting nothing behind. So you're going to have to, 1, make sure you have protection to do that, and 2, if you're playing against the Odell Beckhams of the world, you better make sure you have a guy who can handle it by himself, or you better be rolling your coverage. Simple as that. I saw a comment which pretty much exemplifies what is out there. I saw a comment on one of the videos that said, guys like Jimmy Graham, Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham, Calvin Johnson, they're going to be really tough this year. Well, no damn kidding. They should be tough. They should be tough every year. What people are doing, they're sitting there, they want to be sitting in their 4-6 and playing cover 3 all game outside one-on-one against Calvin Johnson. Okay, you do that this season. See what happens. So, I love what you guys do. You guys do a great job. You guys have done a great job of just giving us the content, giving us what's coming, and You're by far and away the most reliable guys who are doing it. So my hats are off to you. Hope you guys enjoy. Talk to you all later. Peace.
Wow.
All right, man. Hey, thanks. We appreciate that a ton, especially coming from you, Kia. And, man, you know what? That comment right there, when we was done, I mean, I'm not going to go to the fullest extent, but I'll just say when we was in the studio, I got a little bit up in arms about that kind of comment. You know what I'm saying? So, about my man Calvin Johnson. You know what I'm saying? It got, you know, it got me a bit heated and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, that's Calvin Johnson for crying out loud. And it's like, I'm not going to go to the fullest extent. All I'm saying is you better make some defensive adjustments if you're going to try and slow him down. Because Calvin, look, the only person that's stopping Calvin is Calvin. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, unless you got a solid secondary and you're throwing 2 or 3 defensive looks in this pass potentially, which are teams like Arizona had done last year, it's not happening. He's going to eat your secondary alive. He is going to be a problem. And those guys are supposed to be problems. That's why they're the best receivers in the game. It's not just because they can make a spectacular catch. There's a reason why Beckham was able to do what he did. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I just wanted to throw that little bit in there. But, yeah, Kia, that's spot on what we've been saying. And, I mean, we're going to keep pressing that because this is the game people swore they wanted. So don't run from it now and make these general placebo points. Come with the football dialect. Explain using football conceptual terminology and explain why that defensive play call, why it was wrong in terms of football. Not because, of a gameplay issue, because we see that stuff at the draft. Every year at the draft, you see things that happen in them highlights that happen in Madden, and people scream and scrape paint off the wall talking about how it's flawed. And it literally happens in the game. So, and I'm not saying all cases, because we know the game has flaws, but I'm saying there are things that happen that people scream flaw on. So I'm just saying. But I'm sorry, we got more calls. Just wanted to state that there.
Yep, pretty much, man. So we're going to see. So just a time check. We have 15 minutes exactly. We have 2 calls, so we should be able to get you guys in. Right now, we're going to bring in 262. We got you in live. What's going on, man? 262, you there?
Hey, something there.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, we got you. What's going on?
Not much, man. Oh, I do want to say something, about the gameplay and what you said about, there's always going to be gameplay issues. No doubt about that. But the point is when it breaks the game and prevents stuff from happening. A play that I saw from Madden 16, the Browns versus Steelers. Le'Veon Bell was preventing the touchdown, which there was a broken thing or whatever happened, a glitch. But Antonio Brown standing within the middle of the play. Instead of blocking, he was just standing there. And then Le'Veon Bell either got sucked in or just, got forced into an animation of sticking his arm out to prevent him. But anyway, it prevented him from getting that touchdown. And I just want to know why it's taken this long. Since we were dwelled on with Living Worlds, QB accuracies, defense mattering. And then you guys, bring up play calling. But with Living Worlds on that topic, with Man 25, we were told that we're going to get that. We didn't really get that. When we're dwelling on something, you expect it to be, fully there. How come that wasn't there? And then we get QB accuracies. Watching a game from my friend yesterday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How come Geno Smith had 5 incompletions? I don't even think he went deep one. Nothing but quick slants. Playing low coverage. But yet he only gets 5 incompletions for 300-plus yards. I don't know if that's simulation. I've never seen Geno do that. 5 incompletions, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. But again, it could have been bad play calling. Bay Buccaneers. Another thing I want to touch on is, the simulation or realism, authenticity with coaches and teams for managed teams. I've watched videos from Ryan Moody, you may know him, with Jim Harbaugh. Why is he wearing a whistle instead of a pen? 49ers, their field, it's not right. Why is there a black line around the name of the logo? Shouldn't it be white? It's just little things, nitpicking, but still. It does the show realism.
That's good. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, yeah, I will say this, man, just to pause you right there, because we got about 12 minutes left and we want to get the other caller. Let me address a couple of the things. I agree with you 100%. We live in worlds. I don't know if you're a new caller or a new listener or what have you, but a lot of the questions that you asked, we've actually addressed. I'm right there with you with that. That's a marketing thing. We've been telling them that ourselves. Even the devs know. We just ain't there yet. And, when they introduced Madden 25, Andrew Wilson stood up there and he made us all believe that this was going to be in Madden 25. So none of us had seen it at that point. I agree with you 100%. I think marketing needs to always market the game in line to what the product actually has. Same with authenticity. I agree with you there as well. I know things get missed, but I feel like it should be as authentic as possible. But based on everything you said, it just goes to show you how much there is still left to do. And it comes down to time and priority. The reason why it's taking so long is because we all know it. They even know it. Madden has a long way to go to catch up to the authenticity, gameplay quality, et cetera, with other games. Absolutely does. And that's just the nutshell of it. It's taking time. So the only thing we really can ask for now that we're actually getting, and we're going to make sure they keep doing this, is keep marching towards it every year. No step backs from this point on. That's really all we can ask for. But the one thing I did want to touch on, man, you brought up a great point. I want to use your example. You brought up a game problem. That, to me, also was an issue. And I don't know if it's because of the path that Le'Veon was running in, because you can imagine how I felt when I was running that ball. I was like, oh, he's still up. I'm going to get to the outside. And then I run right into Antonio Brown, and he just stands there, and his feet kind of turns in like a turnstile. I was like, what the heck? That right there would be a flaw that I would bring to Clint's attention. I've already done it and say, hey, man, what happened here? And that lets me know that something went wrong or went awry with the AI. So, but I want to use that example because, see, you brought up a valid, what appears to be a problem in the game, not necessarily a football problem, that we all can say, yeah, that wasn't right. Now, whether he would have scored or not, who knows? But we definitely agree. That shouldn't happen. Should never happen. If anything, get out of the way. But the way that interaction occurred, I didn't like that at all. So thank you for pointing that out, man. But, again, you're showing the difference between football problem and a video game problem and a valid video game problem. So we appreciate the call. So let's go ahead and grab the last call we have right now. Looks like 337. I believe that's our guy, Ray. What's going on, 337? What you got for us, man?
Hey, it's Ray Gilman, University, a.k.a. Red Flag here. How y'all doing?
We good, man. What's going on tonight?
Well, first of all, I want to say NYQ was talking about me when I said that Jimmy Graham and Vincent Jackson, all those guys are going to be a problem. But I'm not a Madden hater. I actually like Madden. I've been playing Madden for a long time. But the one thing I just now looking at the topics of the day and I think the topic, something that NCAA has, 14 has, is definitely, I think Rex said he wanted it in the game sooner than later, is able to line my best defensive player against your best offensive player. I think it's called defense assignments or something like that. Definitely has to be in the game. And that's pretty much all I had to say about that. But NYQ was talking about me. Oh, yeah, Sim, I watched a video about going to see the doctor, and I was like, I kind of condone that too, man. Like I said, I got diagnosed with diabetes, and I was like 600 glucose, and I don't think I was supposed to be at 600 glucose level. And I went to the doctor, and I found out I had diabetes. So definitely get that checkup, man. And everybody out there. So I'm with you on that, Sim. I appreciate it. I'm out.
Man, you know we always appreciate your call. And yeah, man, I figured I needed to do a quick PSA. You know, it's bigger than video games. You know, everybody get your health right, man. You know, make sure, you know, do what you can. And, you know, if you have certain things, then still do what you can to support those things. And so, but, you know, so many of us, you know, in the community, as far as guys, you know, younger males, you know how it is. Most of the time, you know, I'm all right, I ain't going to no doctor. But go now, you know, go while you're in your 20s, while you're in your 30s. You know, find out, you know what I'm saying? You pay, most of y'all are paying insurance, use it. You know, that's a very important topic. But, yeah, man, the best on best, that was what Rex was talking about. Like he said, I know they're going to try to squeeze it in, but I don't know. We'll see if it happens. If not, it's good to know that they definitely have that on their plate. And what I love about your call, man, is see how 337 and NY Kia both had, you know, different points, so to speak, but there was no malice there. There was no name calling, nothing like that. My man Ray even came on and kind of giggled. It was like, yeah, he was talking about me. See, that's how community's supposed to go. Different opinions, different comments, but we all can still get along. But, yeah, man, you know, I don't really have much more to say, man. And, again, I really appreciate what 262 was saying, man. I like his call, man. He gave some valid concerns, and he did it in a nice way, and he definitely pointed out something in that footage because I saw that. And to be honest with you guys, I was surprised that part, you know, got approved to even show. Because you guys, you know, I told you guys how it works. The way a lot of these companies and games are going now, you can't, you know, record. And, you know, of course, we got direct capture. So, you know, you want to show the game in its best light. You know, that's not a secret. You want to show the best the game can offer. That's just like if you sell a car and it got a dent in it. You know, I'm pretty sure you're going to park it with the left side first. You know, so when people try to say, oh, they're trying to hide the game, come on, man, let's not act like we don't know business. It's not right. About hiding games. It's if they're going to allow you to see it in this beautiful, like, 1080p, then you better believe they want us to show the best the game has to offer because everybody knows that there are flaws in every game. So why would a company want you to see a flaw? That's not enticing. So like I said, I was surprised that clip actually got approved because I was like, ooh, I ain't necessarily like that interaction right there. But the positive in that play actually kind of, I don't want to say it supersedes it, but it kind of balances it out because there was a lot of positivity, you know, positive things that happened in that play that I was like, whoa, he's still up, you know, like, but it is what it is. But that just goes to show you, like what Smitty said. Every game that comes out this year is going to have some flaws.
Yeah.
And, you know, I could give you...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Smitty. No, go ahead.
No. Okay. No, I was just going to say, this is part of the reason why these companies don't allow you to record, allow us to record and put footage up and stuff like that. That's why they don't, because of these, you know, these kind of tendencies that could happen in this raw footage. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just think if you saw some gameplay footage of Live in that state or FIFA in that state or whatever, and I mean, you had people just recording it, just showing it off like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm pretty sure at E3 they may have had multiple versions of that build at E3. Like, you never know. And what I mean is like different. You know, some may be further along than others. Some may feature some things over others. Like you really don't know. We don't even know actually because there's so many builds they go through when every day with working on the game. So that's what I'm just saying. This is why they don't really show stuff because then you see stuff like that happen. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I'm like, well, that's the way it is. It's like,
Yeah.
I understand why that's why it says work in progress in the corner. I'm like, yeah, it's not like that's part of the gameplay. Like, no, if you got to play some of these games in alpha or pre-alpha, oh, you'd see some real jacked up stuff going on while you play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that's something? There's some things that are messed up, and it's like, yeah, go ahead and play through it. Go ahead and play through it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I see it. I'm like, well, yeah. I was a little bit shocked too to see it, but I see why the clip was still up there, because look at how Le'Veon shook off those tacklers and kept going. It's like, no, you can't cut that. You got to keep that in there. You know, so just take the L on that one.
Yeah. And it just to add on, we got 2 minutes here, but just to add on to what Smitty said, man, y'all would be surprised if y'all was able to see some of the stuff we've seen in February. Like, not necessarily Madden 16. I'm just saying since we've been going down there. Oh my God! You remember that time, Smitty? It might have been last year where the physics had a bug in it, and you would tackle a dude, and you would basically almost knock him out of the stadium. Like,
oh yeah.
It was like a bug, but that's what we're saying. And this is not to say that what we saw with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell is not going to be in the game. Who knows? We're just saying there's so many times that these early builds and things get ironed out, because there's stuff that even in Madden 16 that we had a concern with early on, and while we're there, they'd be like, oh, nah, that's a bug. That's already fixed. It's fixed on the build that we got upstairs at the desk, but y'all not playing that build. That's how it works. So
yeah,
we'll see. But, good eye. Again, shout-outs to 262 for pointing that out. That's a valid concern. And that's the kind of stuff, man. Look for these things when the game drops. This is the kind of stuff we need to give feedback on. But according to the clock here on the site, it says we have 40 seconds. So I guess we'll wrap up. It seems like it's off by about 2 or 3 minutes, but I don't know what the deal is there. But, Smitty, anything you got real quick with 30 seconds?
Thanks, everybody, for calling in. Thanks for everybody that listens in, even the archive listens. And, yeah, we definitely will be back next week with another show. And we look forward to hearing from more of you guys. Definitely tune in, call in, and enjoy your 4th of July.
Absolutely. And be safe out there, man. Y'all have a good time. Be safe. And we'll be back at you guys next week. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for the great show. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. And if you want to interact with me live, head on over to Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and Azure Fact. The call-in number for the show is down in the description. Now, of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. And before you go, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. All right, guys. Until next time, lights out.